Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coping Together. This is Faith with the Mental Health Association of Central Florida. As always, I'm excited to introduce our guest today. This is Bill Cowles. He is the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, and we're here today because we've actually got voting coming up. So thank you so much for being here, Bill. How are you today?
My pleasure. Doing good.
Good. So I guess I'll start with, a lot of people tend to think that the only election that they really need to vote in is the presidential election. And so I wanted to ask you about the primaries. What's the importance of the primary election?
Yeah, the way I like to think of the primary is this is your chance to vote on your local community about Orange County and electing the officials that are going to shape this county, set policy for this county. So on the ballot for this primary, voters are going to find questions about four judges, which of course the judicial system and how important it is to our community. At the same time, depending on which school board district you live in, there are four school board races that will be on the ballot. And again, how important it is to have school board members guiding us, particularly through this pandemic, but also teaching our kids and grandkids of the future leaders. So from that standpoint, school board. At the same time, if you live in one of the three county commission districts, we're electing or re-electing three county commissioners. And from that standpoint, they're the ones who set policy for the whole county. They deal with the growth of this county and services that are provided to citizens that live in the county. And then you go to two very important races on the ballot is the sheriff for law enforcement, protection of our community. And then you have the property appraiser, who is the one who's responsible for assessing the property, which is then the county commission determines how much taxes they need to operate the county. So they all work together. So these are important groups of individuals who will make decisions about the quality of Orange County going forward. And so that's why the August 18th primary election is so important.
Thank you so much. And is there's such a thing as early voting, correct?
Yeah, we actually have three ways to vote now. And we've kind of changed the method of voting because it used to be you went to your polling place on election day, and maybe if you were going to be out of town or for some reason you couldn't get there, you get an absentee. So now we've changed the model, and the way the model goes is that early voting is now the number one preferred method of voting by voters in Orange County. And that's where starting on Monday, August the 3rd through Sunday, August the 16th, 14 straight days, we'll have early voting at 18 locations around the county. And you can go to any one of those 18 sites, and they'll be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day. And of course, in our community, we're a service industry community. You work in the theme parks, you work in the restaurants, you work in retail. And so you don't work a traditional 8 to 5 work day, and your employer doesn't give you the time off to go vote. And so now this is like convenience voting. You go when it's convenient for you, and you've got these options of 14 days to go. So it's the highest voted turnout that we have in terms of method. And then there's the vote by mail, and then election day is now the least preferred method because it's really constrained to those who can get there on a Tuesday.
That's a good point. And so, how would someone go about finding those sites, where to go for early voting?
As it turns out, tonight, we're mailing out the sample ballots to all voters. And in the sample ballot, it will list all 18 locations that you can pick from to go. These are same ones that we had previously in the presidential preference primary, and then with only one minor change. And so you'll see on here where it says new for this election. And going forward for the August and November general election, we'll be adding 2 additional early voting sites, and we'll be announcing those shortly after the primary.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for that information. And in the sample ballot, is it also going to include the names of the people that are going to be on the ballot so people can have time to read up on the candidates and really understand, what are their policies, what are they looking to do?
Yes, and that's one of the unique things about the sample ballot is your sample ballot is actually an image of the actual ballot you will be handed whether you go to early voting or you go to election day. So we do ask, study it, talk to your friends. I even hear the new thing might be to have ballot parties on Zoom where you talk amongst each other about what you think about the candidates and what you know about the candidate. Pre-mark this because you can take this into the polling place with you into the voting booth, and then all you got to do is transfer the mark from your sample ballot to your regular ballot. So your time at the polling place, whether it be early voting or election day, should be a very short and quick experience.
And if someone wants to vote by mail, what's the day that they have to have that sent in by?
Well, vote by mail has an official deadline that we have to have the ballot back here by election day at 7 p.m. A postmark does not count. So if you already got a vote by mail ballot, right now you have plenty of time to mail it back.
Hmm.
But the Postal Service says that for first class mail, which the vote by mail are, it takes usually 5 days, 2 to 5 days to be returned. So you don't want to get caught not sure your ballot's going to get returned. So one of the
Yeah.
things you can do is you can take your vote by mail ballot to an early voting site and drop it off there. We'll have drop boxes there. It's a drive through, reach out, drop it into the box. So it's a staff person there with it. You don't have to go inside, you don't have to park, and you'll know that your ballot's going to count because it's going to come back to us on that night. Now, every voter should know that you don't have to worry about stamps because we pay the postage on the return. So you don't have to worry about going out and buying a stamp for it. All right. So that keeps you out from one less trip. And then on top of that, you can track on our website, which is ocfelections.com, and you can track and it'll tell you what date your request was made. It'll tell you what day we mailed your ballot, and then it will tell you what date we received your ballot back. And then it'll tell you if your ballot has been accepted and is ready to be counted. Of course, we can process them, but we cannot announce the results until 7 o'clock when all voting stops in the state.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much. And that kind of leads me in. You've almost answered my question already, but the pandemic with COVID-19 obviously has affected so many things. I know that a lot of people want to still be able to vote. And so it sounds like voting by mail is a really good option for that, for people's safety, their, well-being, if they're at risk or if they're just nervous. And that drop-off section, you said you can just stay in your car for that if you want to drop it off.
Right, right. So
Wonderful.
we've done a lot to help make sure that we protect those who volunteer and they get paid, but our poll workers, we will make sure they're safe at early voting and election day. But also want to make sure the voters are safe when they come to the polling place to vote. In terms of the elections, we've done several things to make sure that we have protection. One, you might see the reflection of the lights off of the plexiglass shields that will be between the voter and the poll worker at the polls. Also, we have the electronic check-in books. And one of the things we'll have is Kleenex so that you can hold the stylus. We're encouraging voters to wear a mask. And there is
Oh, I love your mask.
a mask ordinance in Orange County saying you must wear a mask when you're out in public. So wear your mask. All poll workers will be wearing masks when they go to vote. And then we also have gloves and masks there. Voters can bring their own gloves. So if they want to use their finger with a glove to sign instead of using the stylus. For voting your ballot, we encourage voters to bring their own pen, black or blue ink, but it'll take basically anything. But that way you're not using one of our pens, you're not touching some pen that somebody else but we have cleaning. We'll be wiping things down. We'll be cleaning stuff on all. So we've done a lot of different things to make it safe for the voter to come and vote in person.
Well, thank you so much. I think that that really addresses a lot of people's concern when it comes to the pandemic. And also, just to add to that, I think that it's really important to talk about, how, the primary election, it does matter because people do get to have a voice in what's going on. A lot of people think that they just need to vote in the presidential election, but for things that hit close to home in your city, in your county, that's where the primary election seems like really comes into play. So I appreciate you elaborating on that.
Yeah, it is so important that, unfortunately in our schools, they don't have enough time to talk about local government. Everything is about the federal government. And I think another point that we should make, and it's kind of like the companion issue to voting this year, is the fact that this is the year of the census and you have to do your census. So make sure you have voted, but you've also completed your census form, whether electronically or on paper, and turn it in. And they did extend the deadline for the census to October 31st, Halloween is the deadline now. It used to be on April Fool's Day, April 1st, but because of the pandemic, it got delayed. And again, the census count, not only for elections, helps determine who your elected officials are, but based on the districts you live in. But on the other hand, particularly for your organization, it's about funding and how much federal dollars and state dollars are going to come down to the local government, to local communities, and to organizations like yours. Funding is so important, and a full count means getting more money if everybody fills that out. So go vote and also complete your census.
Well, thank you so much. I really think that I've answered all of my questions. I guess my last question is, if somebody's interested in becoming involved and becoming one of the poll people, how would they go about getting involved in that?
It's as easy as calling the main office, 407-836-2070, and asking for the poll worker department. Or you can go on the website at ocfelections.com, and there's a whole section on there about being a poll worker. We are still recruiting poll workers. It's one of those things, you can never have enough of the poll workers. And because of the pandemic, things happen. And also we, want to make sure we have plenty of backup. But also we know that we may have, a 35-40% turnout for the primary, but we could have 75-80% turnout for the November presidential election, and we need more poll workers there. And again, poll workers do get paid. You have to come to training before you can work. So that's what this setup is from a training room. But the average poll worker is earning between $175 and $300 for the day, depending on what election you work in.
Wow. Well,
What
that
position,
is some
I should
nice
say. What
information.
position, okay? Yeah,
Perfect.
so, and a lot of the poll workers like working that November election because it's extra money for Christmas.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So, well, thank you so much, Bill, for taking the time to talk with me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you have any questions, we're going to include that information that Bill mentioned, the website, the phone number, all that. If you have any questions about anything else, please feel free to reach out to us at MHA. And like Bill said, get out and vote, get out and do your census, or do it from your home, or like if you want to be socially distancing, and get a nice mask like Bill has. So thank you guys so much. And you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.